Thank you all for showing up today in person and Ms. Mason online. For the Sheriff's Office Advisory Review Board's special meeting to discuss our 2025 annual report. For one, it's hard to believe we're already here at the end of the year. This year seems like it's gone by fast. But nonetheless, here we are. So it looks like we do have a quorum. I'll ask Angela to call the roll.
Okay. Matthew Ray,
Present.
William Walker. Tommy Joe, that's you. Natalie.
Here, present.
Here. James Stewart,
Present for duty, ma'am.
Diane Layden,
Present.
Debbie Strongen. Here. Elena. Oh, and Michael was here.
All right, perfect. So it looks like we do have a quorum with 2 members absent. So we're able to go on with our business for today. So again, welcome for showing up. Thanks for this meeting. Hopefully we'll have a robust discussion on our annual report. What I would like to do is just give some kind of introductory remarks on the annual report. Remind the forum as well as members of the public who might watch this at a later date, what the annual report is all about and kind of why we're here discussing it. So I wanted to start off by just pointing back to the county ordinance that created the SORB, specifically looking at section A, the advisory board, under our duties on number 9. F of the ordinance. It says that one of the duties and functions of this board is to prepare, and I'm just going to quote here, and distribute an annual report to the Board of Commissioners and Sheriff at the board's last meeting in January, summing its activities of the prior year and its plans for the coming year. So this is one of the functions of the SORB that's specifically outlines that we must provide an annual report to the county commission and to the sheriffs, summarizing our activity. So it's not a detailed report of every member's activities or everything that we have done, right? But it's just sort of a high level summary of our activities and then of course plans for the coming year. And so I think you see that reflected in the draft that has been circulated. One other thing I'd like to point out from the ordinance, again, this is not new for the members of this board, but again, for those who might be watching later, the ordinance also requires the SORB to, again, quoting from the ordinance, seek the input of the sheriff prior to completing any of its recommendations made pursuant to the duties defined in this section. And so essentially what that means, and in practice what we have done, is that our draft report, once the board has finalized it, sends a copy to the sheriff for any input that he may have. And again, that's a requirement. We can't put forth any public recommendations concerning the sheriff's office without seeking input from him first. So I just want to highlight that. That's the requirements that we have under the ordinance. And so I wanted to just throw that out there as well. So with that introductory comments, I think what I would like to do is introduce, we all know, the members of the annual report committee. So earlier this year, we established 4 standing committees for this board. And one of those was the annual report committee. And all of our committees are volunteer based. So no one's forced to serve on a committee. It was all volunteer at the beginning of the year. Members of the board who were interested in serving in those committees volunteered to do so. And those who volunteered to serve on the annual report committee was the chair, the vice chair, Debbie Strongen, and board member Wismer. And so, again, I won't rehash the committee charters, but you can go back and read that. The definitions and the role and functions of the annual report was essentially to compile the information, to take input from the board members and essentially put some sort of draft together that we could have substantive conversations about. And so that's what the annual report committee has done. And so that's going to kind of conclude my just sort of preface to why we're here, and what we're doing today is to discuss the draft that is before us, and to conversation about it and edits if necessary and all that sort of thing. So it's kind of a working session. What I would like to do is would like to, at least for the first round of conversation and discussions, I would like to have a little bit more of an orderly circuit of conversation. And by that, I mean, I intend to go down the list and actually call on each members and go in a systematic way around the room for comments, as opposed to a back and forth between members, which has kind of happened in the past, at least for the first round of discussion. We'll kind of see how it goes. I think that would be helpful, because I think in past, looking back at last year's video of this meeting when we were discussing the report, there was a lot of back and forth between members, and it kind of got a little hard to follow who was talking. So I want to see if we can maybe keep it a little bit more orderly discussion and see how that goes. But of course, it's, we are kind of informal, and it is a working session. We don't have members of the public, here that we have to do the public comment and all that sort of stuff. So we definitely want to do free flow to the extent that we can, but want to make sure that it's orderly and progresses that way. So with that, I will stop speaking as the chair, but I want to, going around, I want to start off, and they're conveniently seated here in order that I had planned on deferring to them. The vice chair, Debbie Strongen, who served on the annual report committee with myself and Mr. Wismer, and really has historically taken the helm at putting all of this stuff together. So I want to turn it over to you for any basic comments, and then we'll turn it to Mr. Wismer, and then we'll go kind of around the room for just basic observations or whatever comments that you have. Does that sound good? Any problems, objections for that kind of our game plan going forward? Great. So Ms. Strongen, floor is open to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I think you've given a really good summary and overview of what the annual report is intended to cover. And I don't have any, having worked on it, I don't have any changes or comments on that. It's exactly as it should be. And that's all I have to say. So.
Okay. Mr. Wismer, do you have any thoughts or introductories from a
It's hard to top the vice chair. And so I have really nothing to add, but just as a point of order for the conduct of this meeting, it's listed as a special meeting, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
So, right, we're having a discussion of the annual report, and special meetings, as I understand it, are, a single topic, which is what we're doing. A special meeting does not prohibit motions.
Right.
So I just wanted to clarify that if we get into discussions and have to make decisions about what to add or not add, we can do that by motion.
And we don't have our legal counsel, but we do have.
We do.
Mr. Ogre. We need it. So obviously this meeting we will not be voting to approve the final report. That's what we'll hope to have on the agenda for our December 12th meeting. But my understanding is that we can take votes as it relates to making changes, adding deletions to the draft. Is that okay?
That's how I understand.
Okay. Mr. Roberson, do you have, is that your, see the hand raised, or is that a thumbs up? Or go ahead, sir.
It's a hand raise. Thank you, Chair. This is Daniel. Just to clarify that, can you repeat, is the question whether you are all allowed to vote on the finality of this report today?
Not on the approval of the report, but my understanding is we're permitted to vote to make changes to the draft, to add, to edit, to include, to disclude certain things.
You are correct. Yes.
Okay. Yes. So we can vote to make changes to the draft, but we obviously will not vote to approve the final draft until the next meeting. So you're correct, sir. Not that I doubted you, but it's always good to get it from the legal experts. All right. Anything else, Mr. Wismer?
Yeah, I have, this is not really on topic, but I have decided to move on and resign from the board. I wanted to say it publicly and thank all those that have touched, all of the colleagues around the table. And Daniel, a special shout out to you for your help over the last 5 years of all the things I've drafted for the board. So thank you. And thank you to everyone at the board member.
Well,
Thank
thank
you.
you, Mr. Wismer, and you were out, I think, at the last meeting in October, but we did, in your absence, hope this was okay, but we did let the board know that you had submitted your resignation from the retirement, I call it, because you've been on for so long, right? So, but thank you for your service and appreciate
I
all that
expect
you've
the
done.
pension to start.
Yeah, you get 10% on your salary in retirement, so. 10% of zero is zero, right?
And Dr. Bain, Jim, thank you. Good.
Thank you for all you do.
Sir, is your intent, do you plan on being here at the December meeting?
Yes, I'm worried about not having enough members and as far as I know, no one has been appointed. So I would like to, if it's okay with the board, attend the December and January meetings. Hopefully by then something will shake out.
Thank you.
I think I speak for the entire board saying we'd be honored if you stay on as long as possible. So thank you, sir. Dr. Layden, any comments or thoughts with regards to the draft annual report?
I'm satisfied with what was said. You told me the hard deadline was last Tuesday. I sent you a report, but it wasn't included. Is there a reason?
You're asking me.
Yes.
The reason is that the annual report committee felt that this was not really a report. It was a list of questions for the sheriff, which may be appropriately submitted to the sheriff under the procedures that we've established on this board, but it's not a report that of the type that would go into the annual report, and that's the reason.
We have a new format for our committees that was started this year. Okay, you'll recall in the last annual report, Elena Giacchi had to beg to have her listening session summary included. And it was, and then she got up at a county commission meeting and gave that report there because she felt excluded from the process. Now, you didn't reply to me. No, I need to speak. It's my turn now. We have a personal difficulty, Debbie and I. It's been for a couple of years. I sent you this report. You did not reply to tell me what the committee had decided about it. So it's my option, if I take it at the January meeting when we present the report, to do the same thing Elena Giacchi did. And to stand up and say, we have a committee and it met and we worked and we wrote it up. We spent a lot of time, Jim and Natalie Ann and I, under very difficult circumstances, but we produced this.
So let me just back to my initial comments about wanting to go around and make sure everybody has opportunity to give some comments as opposed to a back and forth. And also remind the board that the draft was approved and agreed upon by the annual report committee, which is not just the vice chair, but it's also Mr. Wismer and the chair. So I just want to remind the board that there was 3 of us that were involved, and remind the board that this is the board's report. So that's why this meeting here is to discuss what should be in, what should not be in. If there's appropriate motions that need to be made, that kind of thing, that's kind of what this meeting is for. But go ahead,
Okay,
Dr. Layden.
To include the report of the Administration Personnel and Budget Committee with the annual report.
Okay,
I so move.
all right. So let me restate the motion so I understand it. Is you had sent a 1-page report from the Administration Personnel and Budget Committee via email. I believe all members got that. I have it here. You have it here. Your motion is that this 1-page report from your committee is attached to the draft annual report.
Yes,
So that's the motion on the table. Is there a second? Okay, seeing no second, then that motion does not pass.
okay, I will plan in January when we submit the report. Will you be there? When we submit the report, the chair usually does that.
Yes, I intend to present
Okay.
the report to the commission as required under the ordinance.
It will be my privilege to stand up after you have done that and tell them that this document was excluded because it was perceived as not appropriate for an annual report. Now, forgive me, this isn't desirable. I don't want to do this. But under the circumstances, you didn't get back to me, Debbie. You didn't give me the courtesy of a reply.
So
You
please,
simply
please,
excluded it from the draft without an explanation. So I sent it to the board, which is my privilege.
that is your privilege.
2 members of the board served on that committee and gave their time and effort. So thank you.
Mr. Stewart,
If I could go back to what,
any comments you want? This is sort of introductory round comments.
Professor is
So whatever
talking.
you'd like to.
a professor, maybe take another look at it and rather than posing it as a series of questions, do it as a series of observations that would be helpful for the SORB to accomplish its mission.
I'm sorry, what is it you're suggesting I do?
Rather than submitting a list of questions, which truly is not appropriate for the annual report. It's
I
appropriate.
don't agree with your concept of the
So
annual.
Dr. Layden,
report.
can you let Member Stewart finish, please?
That, we are working on a draft here, so there's room, I think, for making suggestions. And my suggestion is we restyle this more like a report rather than a litany of queries for the sheriff's office.
There's
So-
information in our.
Maybe I'm just
so
gonna
I can't
interject here.
reply. Okay,
The
Thank you.
back and forth sort of disagreements
I apologize.
that happened last year and it was really difficult just to kind of follow. So I want to try to be more systematic in going around the room and allowing time. And trust me, everybody's gonna have time to speak. And if we got to go around multiple times, we'll go around multiple times. But I think that's more fruitful to have that kind of conversation than back and forth sort of disagreements and arguments. So, Mr. Stewart, please proceed.
Sure. Well, that's kind of where I'm coming from on this particular document. As far as the report as prepared, and I printed out the draft, the red line. Yeah, so that is included in the non-red line, correct?
I have
Okay.
2 here, if
No,
anyone needs it.
Oh,
You're
sorry,
good?
yeah.
Don't do that.
I'll-
I think that the report is appropriate as prepared.
It's great, okay.
There's a lot of boilerplate that we've stuck in here in the past that's been removed, I think, or that's my perception. It was really not necessary. And so I like it in that it's more succinct, sticks to the primary things about which the SORB is concerned. And then, so I'm happy with what y'all have come up with.
Thank you.
Ms. Mason, do you have any comments, thoughts?
Yes, thank you guys so much first, the committee for working on it. I appreciate it. I really do like how it's written. I do agree with Jim, if you don't mind, Diane, if we can go back and take a look at things and we can reframe it. I'm okay with that. It's a work in progress. But as far as the draft goes, I appreciate it for what it is. So thank you guys so much.
All right. So I'll start kind of round 2, I suppose, of conversation. So just to address a couple of things in terms of, again, those on the annual report committee, when it comes their time, they can add their perspective. But my perspective is the annual report summarizes the activities and events that broadly took place across the board. Not detailed information per individual members or committee. So for example, we have 3 other committees as part of the SOR, but we're not detailing, every time those committees met, that kind of thing. So
That's
From
because they didn't do anything.
so from my perspective, and I think from the annual report committee's perspective, again, just one perspective, right? This is the board report. But that's why we didn't include the list that you came into us as well. I think it was also sent for more than 4 people on the board, so replying all.
No, I sent it to you.
So please, when it comes back around, you'll have opportunity to speak, Dr. Layton.
Thank you.
So
Tell the truth.
just
Tell the
from my
truth.
perspective, that's why we didn't include this in there. The other concern that I have is listing questions for the sheriff. That's not the annual report is not the format to pose questions to the sheriff. We have established rules and procedures of this board on communicating with the sheriff, and posing these questions in an annual report, in my view, is not appropriate. And so that's, again, would be the reason why we wouldn't include it as is. I do agree with Mr. Stewart and Ms. Mason. I think that we probably can, in this meeting, come up with a compromise to include some sort of line or two to acknowledge that
Our committee met twice.
the committee, you know, one of the things that we'll be looking forward or part of our plan for the future for next year will be looking or into these questions and sort of summarizing the issues very broadly,
Mhm.
just saying that this is something that the board intends to look at or review next year. But it's not something substantive that we have had a chance really to talk with the sheriff about. And so that's why we didn't include it. What you do see in the report, in terms of the recommendations, and that's kind of where I wanted to focus as well, is I want to make sure that, you know, everybody is okay with the recommendations. There's a lot of content in the report, but really the meat of it is what is the board recommending? And I think that's what we need to be, to the extent we can, unanimous or, you know, in agreement in terms of the recommendations. I think that's really important. But the substance of the comments apart from the committee, specifically talking about the compliance officer and AI and drones, that is something the SORB has discussed throughout this year. And it is something that we specifically had a conversation with Sheriff Allen. And that's reflected in the report. So that's why you see those 2 substantive categories talked about, because it's things that the SORB actually looked at and discussed with the sheriff about. We just haven't had a chance to do that with these other issues. And so that's why the annual report committee didn't feel it was warranted to put that in there. So that's just my perspective. We'll kind of go back around the room for any other comments, Vice Chair Strongen.
Well, I agree with everything that our chair just said. And it occurs to me that, and one of the things we say in the report and looking ahead to 2026 is that the topics discussed in the report will remain the focus for further analysis, including the findings of all of the committees. And I think that the findings of the administrative committee would be an appropriate topic for the report. And those findings would be based on perhaps the sheriff's answers to this series of questions. And really can't be, you know, there are no findings until these questions are answered and evaluated and discussed by this committee, by the annual or the administrative committee. And then at that point, it would be appropriate to write a report of findings. So that's my take on it. And as far as responding to emails, again, I second what our chair has said, that responding is going to violate the
No, it
open
would
meetings law, excuse me, is because one person wrote the email, but 2 other people at the sender's end will be getting the response in addition to the 2 people that it was addressed to. And that is too many people would make it 5 as too many. So anyway, that's my comments. I agree and second everything that our.
Mr. Wismer?
Thank you.
That.
Let me start off by saying Dr. Layden, I know that you have keen intellect. I've watched you over the years, but I'm detecting a little bit of animus in the room. So I would
I'm
like-
trying to hear you.
I'm detecting a little bit of animus in the room. And I would like to dial the temperature down and discuss my reasons for not wanting to include that portion of your administrative committee
Thank you.
as objectively as I can.
Okay,
Um, As I, with a little bit of introspection, as I analyzed my own reasons for being on this board and my reasons for wanting to step aside now, I know that objectively, we haven't had much input from the public this past year. I attribute that to the quality of the leadership in Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office. So in my mind, taking a bunch of questions that you and your committee have come up with, and putting it in the annual report and submitting that to the commission without having fully vetted that in our meetings
Mhm.
or with the sheriff
Mhm.
would further alienate the sheriff.
okay,
And I believe that he would cease to participate
Mhm.
if we were to do this in what I would call a backdoor manner. If we have issues that we want to bring to the sheriff, we should bring it at the table
Mhm.
and not through a report or some other medium that he gets secondhand. So I believe firmly that if we're going to be a professional organization, and if we want the sheriff to continue to participate in a professional manner, we have to act professionally and ask these questions in front of him. And through what has been established is a method to communicate with the sheriff. If you recall, Dr. Layden, the previous sheriff had nothing to do with us.
right,
Do we want to go backwards?
no,
So
maybe,
I have what I think are rational reasons not to do that. Now, as an example of what I would prefer to see, and again, I ask for your attention. You submitted a note to the board, or at least to vice chair, that outlining the, I could read it verbatim, but you know what it was about. It's about the League of Women Voters and a potential forum for 2020, for the next election.
Yeah.
Instead of the language that you proposed, I would place this in the portion of the board that is looking ahead to 2026. So the way that I would frame it, because when you brought the issue to the board took a vote on it. So it was a board action. So the way I would frame that is, additionally, in anticipation of an election for the office of sheriff, the SOAR board will once again ask the League of Women Voters of New Mexico to host a candidate forum for the public. Board members may attend this forum, but this forum will be hosted and run by the League of Women Voters. Board member Diane Layden has agreed to coordinate this effort for the League of Women Voters. And I would submit to you that we could take something out of your administrative staff report and condense it down into a look forward in 2026. These are some of the issues the administrative staff will be looking at without posing questions blindly behind the back of the sheriff, similar to what I'm proposing for the additional language for looking ahead for 2026. In fact, while I have the floor, I would like to make the motion to add that language to the 2026. It's the portion of the report that deals with looking ahead for 2026.
Okay, can you restate, I guess, what language you want to include?
Can send it.
I have it written up. And,
Great. Can you send it to?
but I'll read it again for consideration now. If we're gonna make an adjustment, we'll do it by motion. So I submit that I would like to make a motion that the following be added to the portion of the draft annual report that deals with looking ahead to 2026. Okay, and the language is, I'll hand you
Page
the
8.
language.
Page 8 on the report, draft report.
Additionally, in anticipation of an election for the sheriff, the SOAR board will once again ask League of Women Voters of Mexico to host a candidate forum for the public. Board members may attend, but this forum will be hosted and run by the League of Women Voters. Board member Diane Layden has agreed to coordinate this effort with the League of Women Voters.
Thank you. I would appreciate it if you would put that in.
So,
If you're moving, second.
okay, so it's been moved and seconded. Ms. Mason, were you, just make sure you're able to hear the
Yes,
language? I'll
yes,
just,
Jim.
yeah, okay. And so it's been moved and seconded, so let's open it up for discussion and I'll just keep going around the room and allow discussion on the particular motion. So Mr. Stewart,
No discussion.
no discussion. Mr. Mason?
No discussion.
Vice Chair Strongin?
Okay, my concern is just how closely the SORB can be associated with any political activity, because we're not supposed to be. And I know that it was something, this League of Women's Voters forum was discussed in I think it was the annual report from maybe 2 or 3 years ago. But I would like Daniel's opinion on whether this comment in here that, that Diane Layden will be coordinating it with the league, whether that is too close to the line of the political action that we are not supposed to be involved in. I just think there is that risk.
Mr. Roberson, do you have, were you able to hear the question and do you have any comments or advice for the board?
Can you give me a minute? Let me see what page is that on?
We
Daniel,
haven't,
I
we
can't hear
haven't
you.
wrote it yet. It was just mentioned here by board member
Such bullshit.
Wismer. But essentially the motion and second on the table essentially is to include a couple of sentences about member Layden coordinating with the League of Women Voters to host or to have a candidate forum for sheriffs next year. And the question are we getting into issues of the board crossing lines of political activity, or we just want to make sure we're on good legal grounds before we put that kind of language in an annual report?
The way Dr. Layden is doing it is appropriate because I think she's doing it with the League of Women Voters and she's just
Daniel,
mentioning.
I can't hear you. I sent an email. That's what I did to arrange
Okay.
this. That's what I did back in 22. That's all I did. They took
Yeah.
over from there.
Doctor, nobody's questioning your,
Well, I'm clarifying for Daniel what I did. Now that-
Her position is correct. The way she did it was the appropriate way. It wasn't the board doing it. I do remember in 2022 that
There's nothing
several.
wrong with that.
Correct. The way she did it is fine. It can be mentioned. It's a problem if the board has it, right? Say you were there today and then you had a forum, then you can start blurring the lines. But a member independently working with the League of Women Voters is fine.
right, but so this board took action a couple of meetings back. We voted because the board, again, I think it was unanimous. So let's go back in the record, but I think unanimously, Dr. Lane, we thought this is a good idea. We're not questioning that. The board said we wanted to do this.
Okay.
And so it was an official board action that voted to say, yes, Dr. Layden, please go forward and coordinate with the League of Women Voters. This is a good idea. So I don't think that that's really in question. It's just wanting to make sure that we're doing everything in an appropriate way in terms of reporting and how things are phrased and whatnot. So anything that gets passed in this meeting, obviously, will go into the draft, and then in our meeting, next month will be when we vote to approve it, and that will obviously have a chance for people to actually read it. Presumably, Mr. Roberson as well to read it to make sure if he has any, changes to the way it's read, we can perhaps address it that way. But did that address your legal question?
Yes,
Vice Chair?
yes.
Okay.
Thank you,
The way-
Daniel.
So,
Of course, the way it's proposed seems to be within there are no issues with the way it's proposed.
perfect.
Can I ask?
I can't hear him.
He said the way that Mr. Wismer proposed it, that he read, seems to be okay, that
Thank
there's
you.
no legal problems or challenges with it.
Thank you.
So,
Daniel, can I just clarify? So them putting in the actual annual report that Diane is going to coordinate that is still okay since it's going to be in the annual report that the board is submitting?
Yes, that's fine.
okay, so I apologize as chair. I lost track of where we were on the rounds of discussion. So
My turn.
Mr. Wismer had the motion, it was seconded, discussion, and yes, Dr. Layden,
Thank you. Thank you
So
very
if-
much.
Mr. Chairman,
Okay.
if I might.
do you have a point of order or?
Yes. If we, since I brought it up and we have the motion on the table and a second, and if we vote on it, I would still like to have the floor for a few more minutes at the conclusion of that vote before we continue on.
Yes, sir. Remind me if I forget and move to a vote. Dr. Layden, go ahead.
Okay, we'll come back. Okay, when I saw that our committee report was not attached. Okay, I sent the committee report, let me back up. I sent the committee report to 4 people, not to 5.
Okay,
I sent them to you. Whenever I send to Debbie, I send to you.
okay,
And I sent as a CC to Jim Stewart and to Natalie Ann Mason, so they would know what I did with our report. That's 4 board members. I sent a copy to Angela because I think that's a good idea, that she knows what we're doing.
okay.
So there were 4 board members. It wouldn't have been illegal for you to have replied. Is that a problem? I was the sender, but I sent it to you 2 and copies to them because they're on the committee.
So and we have Mr. Roberson can chime in on what we're talking about is the Open Meetings Act. And my understanding is it's the same as if when you establish a quorum. So
So because I sent it to them, that was too
Right.
many.
I believe it was 5,
You-
correct?
And then I might have gotten a reply.
You could send us the email, but we couldn't reply all without triggering the Open Meetings Act.
Well, why not just reply to me and say there are 5 board members on this email, including you, so I couldn't reply to all of them. That would have been courteous.
Okay.
Okay,
Duly
please.
noted. Anything else, Dr. Layden, on the motion that's,
I think I've made my point.
okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Roberson had something to interject? sir?
Yes. You can run into a rolling quorum when you do that because it's still 5 people, even though you're communicating with the one and they're not communicating with each other, you're still getting around the Open Meetings Act. And it's still, that's that touchy subject that we don't
I can't hear
allow-
him.
So
We don't allow
let me,
members
if
to
I,
do-
if I may respectfully, Dr. Layden, I think the speaker is by the TV. If you have this last chair next to Mr. Stewart, you might be able to hear a little bit better. I think
Can-
we might turn the volume up as loud as we could.
Could you repeat what you said, Daniel?
Yes, the concern when emailing a quorum, so in the board, I think 5 members are a quorum. If you email 5 members and they all reply to you.
No, wait, back up. It was me sending a message to 4 members and Angela. I was the sender. I sent it to Matt and to Debbie with copies to Jim and Natalie Ann. So there,
Is
I'm the
it
sender.
4
I
with
sent
you?
it to 4 members.
Is it you plus 4 more members or 4 members including you?
4 members and I was the sender, so 5 board members appeared on the email.
That's the possibility of a rolling quorum.
Okay,
It's-
thank you.
Okay, Mr. Stewart, discussions on the motion. I know we went around before, but there was other comments. So I just want to make sure everybody has a chance to
Good.
comment on the motion on the table. Ms. Mason? All good? Chair is there. I do have a question on, I know you had wanted before we take a vote. I wanted to, I suppose, if I may, pose a question, make a statement and then perhaps pose a question to find some kind of resolution to incorporate your wishes and desires, Dr. Layton. I think the motion on the table is good. And I think that incorporates the work that you did with the League of Women Voters. It doesn't, however, necessarily incorporate anything from this.
No, it doesn't.
So I don't know if that was something he wanted to add additional language to incorporate that. But my question before then is, before we move for a vote, would be, because I think it is certainly as a board member, every board member, right, as individual members, it's their prerogative there to reach out to the committee, to the commission, to do all that sort of thing. I just think that I'm concerned, given what happened last year and then this year, that we're getting down to a point where the board is just, we can't agree on things and we're other members introducing things. I'm not sure that gives the board a very professional look. And so if we can come to a compromise of including language in the draft report that you would be comfortable with, right, that may not be simply attaching the questions, which I think all the other members present are concerned about. That's not to say that we can't put some sort of language in there to acknowledge the committee's work and what they plan to do in the future. And as a member and as a chair, I would support that. What that language looks like, I mean, that's what we can sort of discuss. But that's what I would like to see, is if we can come to a compromise to have one report so that we don't have additional attachments or second reports that are submitted to the commission. I think that would, if we can come to that compromise, great. If we can't, we can't. But that's what I would like to see. So Mr. Wismer, go ahead, sir.
The reason I had asked for the floor after the vote was to sort of split this issue and address that issue. And then I have some comments that I would like to offer about a compromise along the lines that you spoke with regards to the administrative committee report.
Okay, so it'll be a separate motion then. Okay. So I have here before me what Mr. Wismer printed out. Does any of the, and I apologize, Ms. Mason, I could probably hold it up to the screen if you want to read it, but any of the board members here want to actually read the language that Mr. Wismer read for us? Do you want to see it as written so you know what the language on the motion is? Everybody's okay with it? Anybody need me to read it again, the motion on the table?
Please read it again.
Okay. So the motion and second to include this statement on page 8 of the draft annual report under the section looking ahead to 2026. The motion on the table is language, quote, additionally, in anticipation of an election for the office of sheriff, the SORB will once again ask the League of Women Voters of New Mexico to host a candidate forum for the public. Board members may attend, but this forum will be hosted and run by the League of Women Voters. Board member Diane Layden has agreed to coordinate this effort with the league. Okay. All right. Any other final discussions on the motion before we move for a vote? Anybody? All right. I may ask Angela to call a roll call vote if you don't mind.
Okay, Chair
Yes.
William Walker, not here, sorry. Natalie Mason,
Yes.
Mr. Stewart,
Yes.
Diane Layden,
Yes,
Debbie Strongen,
Yes.
and Mr. Wismer.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes unanimously, so we will ask Mr. Wismer, who's on the annual report committee, to if you could send that that language electronically to other members of the annual report or to the vice chair, and we can make sure that that's included in the draft. Okay. All right, so let me go, I think that covered the motion. So let me just start back where we began and kind of go back around the table for any additional conversations, discussions regarding the annual report. So Vice Chair Strong,
Are we commenting on the,
commenting on whatever you would like to comment on, ma'am.
now, I would just note that the other two members of the administrative committee also concur that this list of questions is not the way to submit them to the sheriff by adding it on to the annual report. But that's all I have to say.
Mr. Wismer?
I have to understand my own failings too in this. I'm not good at writing on the fly. But similar to what we just did, I would like to suggest to you, Dr. Layton, that we condense into one paragraph what the Bernalillo County Commission can expect from the administrative committee in 2026.
Okay.
And I
Take
know,
this back and I'll do something. Okay,
would that be okay with you and Mr.
Yes.
Stewart and the other members of the,
yes, at this time, yes.
and then it would be an assumption that we would get, that the committee would then get some rework of this. And I asked that of all the three committee members. I think you know what I'm talking about.
I do.
Okay,
So are
I'll
you,
wait till it's my turn.
Okay. And I just asked that the committee members try to, I tried to set an example here of how we could frame this in terms of looking forward in 2026. That's what I would ask. So I'll leave it with the committee.
okay, Dr. Layton?
Okay, my opening paragraph in this document that I sent to everyone on the board. So you've seen it. The Administration, Personnel, and Budget APB Committee was formed in 2025 and is comprised of Jim Stewart, Natalie Ann Mason, and Diane Lake. APB met twice this year, reviewed personnel and budget information on the Bernalillo and BCSL websites and developed, and I would say, developed questions and comments for Sheriff Allen in the future, period. Take out the word "the" before questions and shown below. In addition, Natalie Ann noted a problem on the BCSO website and reported it to BCO through SOAR Chair Matt Ray. The site was corrected. This paragraph will suffice. Our committee met twice. This is what we discussed. We have questions for the future. And nothing is listed,
Okay,
but it gives, now forgive me. Okay. As I've said, I've been on this board almost 4.5 years, and I've been devoted to it. This gives credit to this committee for its efforts. It introduces Natalie Ann, who is a new member, and gives her credit for finding an error and correcting it through the chair. So I think this paragraph is sufficient. It's a summary, but it's informative. It's informative to the commission as to what members of this board are doing.
okay. Mr. Stewart?
Does this have to be decided today?
Yes,
Well, that's at the board's, there hasn't been a motion on the table yet.
I so move.
And so, but yes, I mean, that's at the discretion of this board, what we want to, whether it's the precise language. And that's really what the board will
Right.
decide today. So, but
If I
go ahead,
might.
sir. I'm sorry.
Well, my other elderly counterpart over here, Mike,
I think
You know,
I'm older than both of you.
just barely, is, I would like to have a bit more time to reflect on this wording. Not a lot of time. If I could have 24 hours, I'd
Is that,
let me massage it and get it back out.
can our committee?
We don't have to. It's not that big a deal, but I think we could do a better job.
Anything further?
No.
Ms. Mason? Comments, thoughts?
Yes. Diane, I thank you. I appreciate you giving me credit. I feel like for the report, I'm kind of with Jim. I think I need a little bit more time because I'm looking at it and then I'm looking at the paragraph that Diane is talking about, and I understand the wording that you want in there. And I feel like there's some of that in there without it being too detailed. And I think it's safe to say that what we're asking for and looking forward from us, I think the wording is okay. I know it's not perfect with my other, committee members. But I feel like what we've done, what we're asking for looking forward, we have questions that we want to know answers to when it comes to personnel and different descriptions. And I feel like that will all come and we will have that in the next report. So I feel like the paragraph as it stands looking forward, it gives a good enough and a little bit vague to give us room to expand if we need to for the next one.
Okay, can I ask clarifying, when you said the language is written as it stands, are you talking what's in the draft report or what is in the committee's report? Just want to make sure I'm clear what you're.
Sorry, in the draft report, how it is, I like it. Going back to the
Okay.
draft, because referring to what Dr. Lady is saying for the committee and what we're working towards, I think we have room, we have time to add that in later. And I think the draft right now gives us that space that we need and that time to find out the questions and those answers that we need.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. So my perspective on this, I think we can come up with a couple of sentences to encapsulate the committee's work. I think that's doable. I think that's reasonable. I'm not sure the way it's written in the committee's report is something I could support as written, but I think that I think I could support something that is worded a little bit different. And let me just, again, from my perspective, so I think since I've become chair at the beginning of the year, I've done my best to acknowledge the hard work of every member on this. Not perfectly. I'm not perfect, but I've endeavored to do my best, privately and certainly publicly, to acknowledge the contributions that all of you have made. And I mean that, I really do, even if I disagree, which I do at times. We do, right? That's the nature of a board that has 8 or 9 members. We're going to have disagreements. And that's okay. But I truly do appreciate even the dissenting views, as tense as they can get at times. I think that's healthy. I think that's good. That's part of our democratic system. And so all of you, thank you. All of you have contributed. Having said that, I personally am just concerned in an annual report by going down and identifying contributions that each and every board member made, because then it becomes the report's about the board members. And it's not. The report's about the board. I could go through, since I become chair in February, and the vice chair can attest to this, having been vice chair for 4 years, the amount of work and effort and behind the scenes things that we have had to do, right? And just coordinate. You don't see any of that in this report. Why? Because it's not about me. It's not about the vice chair. It's about the board as a whole. Having said that, I do recognize there are certain contributions, right, that may warrant mentioned. So for example, in this report, we named Mr. Stewart. And where did we name him? We named him when we talked about the BCSO compliance officer position. Why did we name him? That's significant. That he participated in the interview process for a civilian oversight position that the BCSO created, that this board had advocated for years, right? That is significant. That's a significant activity of this board. So he was named in that regard. So I say that not again to diminish any member of this board. Your contributions, I value, I think everybody values. But I just am cognizant from my perspective. I mean, honestly, I don't even like to see my name on the forward. Like, I don't even like to see my name in the bio just because I'm cognizant of that, right? Of just being mindful of the work that we're all doing, but it's the work of the board, not the work of any individual. So with that, we'll go back around. I don't think there was a motion, but it wasn't. And I don't know the rules of order, if you can make a motion when it's not your turn, or if you have to wait till your turn. So if you don't mind, do you want to make the motion, or do you want to?
If I'm permitted to speak at this moment.
If you have a motion, I think anyone can make a motion at any time.
We're a board, but we're not a bureaucracy, Matt. And we operated very informally in the past.
Yeah.
So for some of us, at least for me, this is an adjustment to everything being regulated and so forth. And I want to mention what happened with Elaine.
Do you have a motion? 'Cause if
Yes,
not,
I
we'll wait.
do.
Can you make
Yes.
your motion?
Yes, I have a motion. I move that the opening paragraph be included in the annual report to show the efforts of the Administration, Personnel, and Budget Committee.
Okay, as written in your report? That's your
Without the
motion?
word "the"
Without the word,
before questions, and with a period after future in line 4, with the words shown below removed. And that simply credits this committee with meeting twice and having lengthy discussions of websites and issues of interest. And that's it.
okay. So the motion on the table is to include these two sentences from the Administration Personnel Budget Committee report. And I will read that before entertaining a second. And if I read it incorrectly, please feel free to correct me. So the motion is to include the following language in the draft report under looking ahead to 2026 section on page 8. The Administration, Personnel, and Budget, APB, committee was formed in 2025. It is comprised of Jim Stewart, Natalie Ann Mason, and Diane Layden, chair. APB met twice this year, reviewed personnel and budget information on the BURNCO and BCSO websites, and developed questions and comments for Sheriff Allen in the future. In addition, Natalie Ann noted a problem on the BCSO site and reported it to BCSO through SORB Chair Matthew Ray. The site was corrected.
Matthew is fine.
Okay, so that's the motion to include that language. Is there a second? Okay, so the second, there was no second, so the motion fails. So let's go back around the table to Vice Chair Strongen.
And I'm commenting on what?
The floor is open really to any conversation substantive about the draft annual report, whether it's something someone else said, whether it's a new idea that, whatever comment, it's just, we want to make sure everybody has an opportunity to contribute and do it in a way that isn't a back and forth arguing and disputing, because I don't think that's really helpful.
My only comment is that for all the years that we have produced annual reports, I have stressed that this is not my annual report, this is our annual report. And so in that spirit, anyway, I have nothing further to add at this point.
Okay, Mr. Wismer?
Spirit of compromise and with an effort to recognize the work of the administrative committee, I would like to propose that we give the administrative committee 48 hours, if that's okay with the writer, to restructure this along the lines of looking forward in 2026.
Is that a motion?
Attitude, yes.
We
Okay.
have a motion on, that
So
died.
there's been a motion on the table to ask the Administration Personnel and Budget Committee to get together. So that's Dr. Leda, Mr. Stewart, Ms. Mason. And within 48 hours, provide a synopsis or a couple of lines that you all can agree to propose inclusion in the draft annual report.
I second.
And Dr. Layden seconds that. Any discussion on the motion?
Is this
Everybody
okay with
understand
you?
the motion? Anybody have questions, discussions on the motion before we entertain a vote? Okay, all in favor? Say yes.
Yeah.
Aye. Yes. Any opposed? All right, motion passes unanimously. So
Are you abstaining, Debbie?
did you not vote? I'm sorry, you voted yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it was unanimous vote, yes. So thank you, Mr. Wismer, for that. I think that is a very good compromise, as seeing that there is an agreement on what the language should be. So Ms. Layden, Mr. Stewart, Ms. Mason, thank you for your efforts, and thank you for taking on this, and hopefully the three of you can come to consensus on language that's included. So I for one, I think if you come to consensus, the three of you are in agreement of what you submit, I will support it. Okay. And I can't speak for my other board members here, but if it's the three of you are in agreement,
As my therapist would say.
then I'll support it. So if you'll get that to, you can send it to,
We'll get it to both of you by Monday. This is Friday. Okay,
Yeah.
48 hours.
so yeah, so if you want to just.
To arrange a meeting. We'll get it to you by Monday. Is that satisfactory? Monday noon?
Monday, that's 48 hours, right? I think roughly.
Please don't exclude me as a member.
By the
So-
time this meeting ends.
All right, perfect. So we've got a resolution there. All right. Any other comments? Lee, I guess we can go back around the room since that's what we've established as our protocol today. So let's do that. Vice.
I just have a question. If we're getting this revised paragraph in 48 hours or whenever we get it, then when does, the same issue will exist as far as the rolling quorum issue. And so when does that get discussed? Is that at the December meeting? Or how does that work?
So I'm open to thoughts and ideas, but in my mind's eye, what I'm thinking is if the committee agrees on the language and sends that to the annual report committee, then it gets included in the draft report, in the updated draft report. And then when we meet in December,
Okay.
hopefully we'll be able to do a final vote on the annual report, and it will include the language that was submitted by the administration
And
committee.
if
That's
you
my
want to
understanding.
change
So
it
go ahead.
to, you can change it on December 12th. If you want to change a word or two in what we send you, you can do it on December 12th.
Yes.
You still have
So-
freedom to amend it.
So we will vote, hopefully vote up or down at December 12th, but
Correct.
that meeting also is a regular meeting, so it's public comment. I believe the sheriff is going to be there. It's going to be a packed meeting. So the intent of having this meeting was really to the best that we could to kind of hash out all of those details so that when we vote on it, there's as little disagreements or changes as possible. But you are correct. You can make changes all the way up until the last minute. I just don't think that's very efficient. So if there are substantive things that need to be changed or revised, or there's major issues with anything in the report, I would encourage this board to speak up now during this meeting. So with that, let's go back around the room for sort of final closing comments or last comments. And one thing I would do, if I could ask the members, assuming nobody's objected, but any issues with the recommendations, I want to make sure that that's the recommendations that we're making, that there's no issues, or I think that would be really problematic if we had disagreements on our recommendations. All right, so Vice Chair, anything else? No other comments, Mr. Wismer? Any other comments? No comments, Dr. Layton? No other comments? Mr. Stewart?
I have comments.
You have comments? Okay.
I apologize.
No, don't apologize. That's what we're here for.
So we're gonna plug in a paragraph from one of the committees. What about the other committees?
None of the other,
Do you-
none of the other committees have requested to put detailed information into the annual report about the work that they did.
Okay,
If the other members of the committee wanted to, they could have. They just didn't. So
I'm sorry. Say that again.
I'm saying the other committees didn't ask to include their work in the report.
Okay.
That doesn't mean they couldn't. That, but they just didn't. So
I got
the
you.
administration committee is the only one that has asked for this.
Understand.
So
Just the way that might be perceived. Did you other guys not do anything? Yeah. Okay.
Ms. Mason, any final comments, thoughts?
No, thank you guys. It's been great.
Okay, so before we adjourn then, let me just make a couple of administrative announcements.
Be in touch today.
One is,
I'll be in touch. I'll send you a paragraph.
Mr. Esteban Vasquez, who served as our communications coordinator liaison with the county, has taken another job with the county. And so he'll no longer be serving as our communications liaison to this board. And that thus is why he's not here today. He did inform us he does plan to do the holiday luncheon, which is coming up. So he said he'll be there for that. So hopefully he will. But having said that, so I did get a card for those that are here. We'll present it to him at that holiday luncheon. So Ms. Mason, you're not here, but we'll have time at the next meeting or somewhere we can get you if you want to sign the card. But if you want to sign the card for Esteban, that is here. Our next regularly scheduled meeting is going to be December 12th, I believe, at 1 p.m.,
Yes,
if I'm
sir.
not mistaken. Presumably in this building, but that'll go out along with the agenda. So expect to vote or have a final vote, hopefully, on our annual report at that meeting. And then the last administrative thing that I have is just a reminder, the holiday luncheon is still being planned by Dr. Layden. So thank you very much for coordinating that. I think that was December 18th was on the calendar. But there are more details to be worked out by Dr. Layden. But I just wanted to remind the board that that's still on the calendar. All right, last minute administrative stuff.
I just wanted to repeat what I've already said to our chair, is that the likelihood is I will not be able to attend the meeting on December 12th.
Okay,
So I will try to call in if possible, but it's going to probably be very tricky for me to do that.
okay. Any other last minute comments, things administratively? All right, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I so moved.
It's been moved. Second, all in favor to adjourn?
Yes.
Aye, any opposed? All right, thank you all very much. We'll see you next month.
Oh, yeah.
No, she's waving.
It's waving goodbye. Card for Esteban, if anyone wants to sign it.
Yeah.
I'll be in touch.
Okay, I'll be in touch.
I don't have it on my-
Good day.
Yeah, that's fine.